Hi there, it's been a little bit, I guess we can say. I don't really have an excuse this time. I am so sorry. Thank you once again to everyone whose name you see on screen now. I don't completely know if I deserve your support after this last bit of writer's block, but it's appreciated all the same. I do have some minor channel updates, nothing bad, but I am going to force myself to get the Husks video, a Falcom news video, and of course the Riku video done before I formally mention any of that stuff. If you poke around a bit, you can absolutely find it, but I want to prove it to myself that I can actually get the last baggage of 2023 out of the way before I actively direct you in any specific location. That being said, this is not a 2023 baggage video. I'll be talking about some stuff that was announced in December, but this is a very 2024 thing, because we've got a surprisingly large amount of Xeno news for a year where I don't think we're actually going to get a new Xeno game. If you're not as well-versed a Xenoblade fan as I am, the reason I don't think we're getting anything new is specifically because of timing. Monolith Soft is absolutely working on a new Xeno project, however, every time they've released a Xenoblade game in the past 9 years, they haven't released one the year after, even if they worked on other projects for Nintendo. In 2015 was Xenoblade X, then 2 didn't come out until 2017. Torna, which was just DLC for 2, came out in 2018, the year after, then Nothing 2019, Definitive Edition 2020, Nothing 2021, Xenoblade 3 2022, Future Redeemed, again DLC right after in 2023, so unless the next Xeno thing has not been touched by Monolith at all, it's probably not coming out in 2024. The only chance for us getting a new release would be a Xenoblade X remaster that Monolith didn't touch at all as a launch title or something early for the Switch 2, and seeing how we know the Switch 2 is coming this year at this point, but not exactly when, and there hasn't been a full new 3D Mario in 7 years, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with that instead of banking things on a remaster of the only Xenoblade game that hasn't hit 1 million units before. Also, there are interviews of higher-ups at Monolith saying they want to give Xenoblade X another shot, which suggests to me that either Nintendo shot a plan down, or they wouldn't be willing to let someone other than Monolith work on a new version of X. And if Monolith is the one working on a new version of X, I don't think it will be ready for this year. That being said, in the past couple of months, you may have heard rumbling of a Xenoblade X remaster. The initial rumor came from a notoriously unreliable quote-unquote leaker in December, and that did a small amount of buzz, but because it came directly from the leaker's mouth, everyone knew it was probably false. A few weeks later in early January, it was picked up by a Resetera thread, which then made it to a comicbook.com article that a lot of people were spreading without really doing a lot of research, which is telling because the person who wrote the article also didn't do a lot of research, because they referred to Monolith Soft as Monolith Productions, which is the American studio responsible for Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. It being picked up and written about in an actual article is what really made it blow up, and people who weren't aware of its original origin are kind of going around coping with this when it is almost certainly false. Even though I don't believe it, I will give the initial rumor a bit more credit than the comicbook.com article, because it does say that this game is going to be a quote-unquote full remake of X for the Switch 2, made by Monolith Soft, which is more or less exactly the only way we're going to get Xenoblade X anytime soon. I just don't think it's happening, and even if it is, almost certainly not coming out this year. In other more minor news, Xenoblade 3 made it to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as a singular spirit, but it's nice to have all the same. I was stupid and forgot to get footage of this when it actually came out, so bear with me for the time being. Ultimate is running a series of 4 new Spirit events where they're adding stuff from games that weren't previously represented. The current event features Zagreus from Hades, the main cast of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and characters from a Konami baseball game I've never heard of, but the previous event was about first-party Nintendo games that came out after the end of the Fighter's Pass, featuring content from Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon 3, Pikmin 4, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's also neat to have a Noah and Mio Spirit coming out about the same time as their amiibos. We'll get to that next, don't you worry. Noah and Mio are a 3-star attack-type spirit with 3 open slots. The spirit battle takes place on Battlefield Bridge of Eldin, presumably representing Alfeto Valley, with the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 battle theme playing. The fight is a stamina battle like most battles against RPG characters. The enemy starts with a beam sword because this is a Xenoblade protagonist spirit, and reinforcements will appear after the enemy is taken out. You're up against Shulk and his Charla skin representing Noah, a Mii brawler made up to look like Nia to represent her daughter, and once those two are taken out, a big Dark Samus with more HP will spawn, representing Noah's Ouroboros form. Not much else to say here, because this is part of a Spirit event representing other Nintendo games. It doesn't have any bearing on Noah and Mio's actual chances in a future Smash title. However, the interesting thing about this is there is no listed series for Noah and Mio. At first we thought this was just a mistake, but when the next Spirit event came out, Zagreus and the 13 Sentinels also don't have a listed series, so the running thing now is that it's an age rating issue. Previously, it was only M-rated games that couldn't have their titles listed directly in Smash Ultimate related media, but now it seems like any game with a higher age rating than Smash itself has to be obfuscated to some degree. The Noah and Mio Spirit does still have the Monado Xenoblade series icon there, but for whatever reason, they're not listed as being from the Xenoblade Chronicles series, even though all of the base game and Pyra and Mythra associated spirits do still have that. My copium is that this was either just a mistake, or they're gearing up to change it to Xeno series as a whole in either a Switch 2 port of Ultimate or whatever the next Smash game is, but it's more likely the age rating thing, though that will not stop me from coping. Oh, anyway, the Noah and Mio amiibos are out now. I should probably start talking about that. That seems like a very important piece of news, seeing as how they came out this week. Almost topical. You're doing good, Luxon. You did one thing in this news video that's actually news. You can talk to me and my daughter anytime you'd like. I have no idea who this guy is. I'm recording the footage for the amiibo in the middle of the audio for this video, and I accidentally reset over a shiny Cutiefly to go swap the game to Xenoblade 3, so you're welcome for all the sacrifices I pull for you guys. All in the name of content. Oh, and the game did update to 2.2.0. There's nothing new added besides the amiibo content and not even any listed bug fixes, so there's your kind of whimpery final update for Xenoblade 3. Unfortunately, no new quality of life or anything like that. If you had a big 4-point-something gig download, this update makes you reinstall the entire expansion pass for some reason if you have it, so that's why it's big. They didn't change a lot. I've seen anecdotes of people being able to scan the amiibo through the box, so it's always worth a try if you don't want to unbox yours. Each amiibo will unlock 4 new outfits. The Noah one will unlock for Kavesi characters, and the Mio one for Agnian. 3 outfits for each are just the leisure time outfits, which are simply the ability to remove everyone's outer jackets in normal gameplay. Basically, you could put them in their camp outfit whenever you want. The last 2, though, are kind of the big ones. The console N and M armor for Noah and Mio. You can have Noah dressed as N during the N breakdown scene. I did not record that for this, so you can do that yourself and get a lot of views for it. I'm giving you this opportunity right here. I think Noah with his hair up in the N outfit looks extremely awkward and funny. Mio with short hair in the M outfit looks a bit better than that, but they do still kind of look like kids wearing adult clothes, which is funny because N and M are physically the same age as them. It just looks weird to have relatively happy and well-adjusted versions of them in the console outfits, I suppose. If you want to obtain any of these outfits without scanning the amiibo, that is completely possible, just like all the other ones. You simply need to go to, because this is the last update for the game, I'm going to actually attempt to pronounce the Welsh, the Llanidor camp in Ribby Flats in the Forness region. It's the same place the portal to the Land of Challenge is. And all you need to do is talk to Napon Mythra Kid lookalike Meebo Me, who will allow you to unlock that stuff as well as the Pyra and Mythra swords. I don't know if I ever actually talked about it in a video because I never bothered getting Pyra and Mythra amiibos, but to get Pyra's sword, you need to have maxed out every Ouroboros skill tree, and to get Mythra's sword, you need to have fully upgraded everyone's base weapon with Origin Metal. The problem, though, lies in getting the Noah and Mio amiibo stuff because it is kind of a bit of a doozy. To get the stuff from the Noah amiibo, you need to talk to Meebo Me after beating the game and getting 7 Napon 7-star medals, which are a new Land of Challenge reward. These are accessories that boost maximum HP by 7%, but the hard part about that is they cost 77 gold Napon coins to obtain, meaning you need to get a total of 77 times 7, 539 gold Napon coins. This is a massive grind. It's doable. It's even doable AFK, but it is a lot of work to be able to get these specific rewards. It's also worth noting that the release date of the amiibo is exactly 539 days after the release date of Xenoblade 3, so I'm pretty sure they planned at least some of that to be based on some permutation of the number 7. Rex in Xenoblade 2 also says his fake driver number is 539, but I believe that was only a dub thing. Regardless though, they went really meta with this in a really annoying way, in all honesty, to make something a lot grindier than it really had to be. To get the stuff from the Mio amiibo, you need to beat the game and defeat Seraphic Seratinia at level 150, which means not only do you need to beat the highest level super boss, you need to beat it 30 levels higher than it initially spawns at, which means you also need to beat it at every increment of 5 levels in between that as well. This too is doable, but it's a much bigger ask than any other amiibo reward, largely because getting this stuff is the only thing the Noah and Mio amiibos are good for currently, so they have a lot more incentive to get you to pick them up, as opposed to Shulk, Pyra, and Mithra, who are all Smash Bros. Amiibos and have a different function in another game, which is really their primary function, so the Xenoblade 3 stuff is a lot more of a bonus that they don't really mind giving you for super easy. As it stands, Noah and Mio are the only Xenoblade series amiibo, so yeah, it's a bit bigger for them. Very interestingly though, the base of these figures is different from Shulk, Pyra, and Mithra, of course, because these are not Smash amiibo. But what is on the base is an X. Now, it's gray and not red, but this specifically appears to be a variation of the X in the Xenoblade 1 logo, not the Xenoblade 3 one, which, if you have your amiibo in front of you, you can tell very easily just by looking at the Xenoblade 3 logo on the upper left-hand corner of the box and then at the base of the figures. This, combined with how an X was slashed through to show the Xenoblade Definitive Edition logo at the beginning of that game, suggests they're going back to painted X being a big piece of iconography for the series like it was back with Xenogears. They didn't do any of that kind of thing since Definitive Edition, but it looks like they're finally bringing it back around, which is pretty exciting for me, all things considered.
Here, just using Mio as an example, because she has less surface area actually on the base of the figure. That is an X. That is not the Xenoblade 1 X. Or that is the Xenoblade 1. Do I really need to re-record this? It's the X from 1, but not 3, which is weird because this is a 3 character. You know what I'm talking about here at this point. Cut back to past me, who vaguely has a better idea of what's going on in his life.
As for the rest of the agenda pushing, we've got some actual Xenosaga news too. For a 2-week period at the end of December and beginning of January, the Japanese-only Tales of series gacha game, Tales of the Rays, had a Xenosaga crossover event. Now, specifically, this event is called Xenosaga Episode 3 Another Protocol. So, it is a crossover with only the 3rd Xenosaga game for some reason, and not the entire series. I would like you to keep in mind, this is a Tales of gacha game crossing over with a different Bandai Namco RPG series. This is not the most out there crossover Tales of the Rays has had. In addition to Xenosaga, it's already done Dot Hack, Scarlet Nexus, Star Ocean, things that would make a lot of sense to go together with Tales of, but because it's Bandai Namco and they also have anime licenses, there's a Sword Art Online crossover, there's a Gintama crossover, there's a Black Clover crossover, Sergeant Frog is in there. They also had a Guilty Gear event at one point too. I don't know how that one happened. Cosmos is not the weirdest thing to happen to this game, but it's the most exciting for us. As this is an Episode 3 specific crossover, Cosmos appears in her version 4.0 design, which is her main design from that game, though you can also get a costume for her that replicates her version 1.0 design from the beginning of the series. While Cosmos is the only new character, pre-existing Tales of characters did get outfits based on other Xenosaga cast members. Velvet Crow from Tales of Berseria got a Telos outfit, Laphicet, also from that game, got a Chaos outfit, and the outfit is specifically called lowercase c Chaos Boy Outfit Laphicet, which is hilarious. And Kanono Earhart, a character that most of us probably have never heard of because she's from a Japan-only crossover game that was released in 2009 only on the PSP, got a Momo outfit. This is super cool and all, but why am I talking about it for so long? Well, Tales of the Rays is voice acted, and Cosmos' original VA, Mariko Suzuki, returned to play the character. Japanese VA returning to play their character again after a long hiatus of that character not doing anything, not a particularly big deal. But what is a particularly big deal is that Cosmos is not voiced in a lot of her crossover appearances. The last time Suzuki actually got in a recording booth to record lines for Cosmos was Xenoblade 2, and then before then, Project Cross Zone 2, a different crossover with Bandai Namco characters, including people from the Tales of series as well, that also included Xenoblade characters and had some weirdly pseudo-canon interactions between Cosmos and Fiora from Xenoblade 1. It doesn't seem like there were a lot of new lines recorded for this event, so, she's already in the booth. Maybe it's time to have her record some stuff for Cosmos in some sort of new Xenosaga project of some sort. There's also the fact that, Cosmos did technically get a redesign. This is just her version 4.0 design from Xenosaga 3, but it is a new iteration of that to better fit the Tales of the Rays art style. That being said, if you look at her actual model and not just her portrait art, this is, albeit because it's a mobile game, very low poly, version of a model that I could see them using for version 4.0 in a remaster of the Xenosaga series. If they went for this exact art style and unified it across the entire trilogy, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. So, I don't know. Just saying, they might be using assets from something Monolith's been cooking up too. People have gotten over-eager about copyright notices on things before with this series, so I'm just gonna say one thing to, not go too far with. At one point in the announcement video for the collaboration, the copyright is listed Xenosaga Trademark Series and Copyright Bandai Namco. I don't know if this is just a normal Japanese thing or just a specific way of formatting this game uses, because if you go to the main thing for Tales of the Rays Recollection itself, it says Tales of the Rays trademark and Copyright Bandai Namco there, so that's just the way they stylize this trademark. This is also an indication that Bandai Namco still fully owns Xenosaga and it hasn't been transferred to Monolith or Nintendo. That being said, Monolith Soft's official Twitter did retweet a dozen posts about this collaboration, so they likely were involved even if it was just giving a rubber stamp to something. Something else Monolith's Twitter tweeted about a lot is the topic of the rest of the video, because I've been saying it for a year, the special edition wasn't all. We're getting a full-sized Xenoblade 3 and Future Redeemed art book. This book is 448 pages long and titled Xenoblade 3 Official Artworks Ionios Moments, and it will be released on April 1st. Hopefully this isn't a joke because I already bought one. For comparison, this is roughly 100 pages longer than the Xenoblade 2 All Rest record, roughly 200 pages longer than the Monado secret file, and we all know how much was in that thing, and about 150 longer even than Xenogears Perfect Works. I do fully expect a lot of the art that was already in the collector's edition art book to be reprinted, but there's also Future Redeemed art, additional more spoilery stuff, commentary on things, most of that was not present in the collector's edition book, and the like. We also already know that it's not just going to be art. There's going to be a roundtable discussion with Monolith development staff, creator interviews with Masasuke Saito and Shoko, the two lead character designers, as well as, for some reason, all of the dialogues from camp conversations. That's going to take up a lot of the page count in and of itself, but keep in mind the secret file also had all the Xenoblade 1 heart-to-hearts in it, so there's going to be a lot that's just text. This doesn't seem like it's going to be translated at all, so not a lot we can read off of that, but the interviews are going to be completely new content. There's probably going to be at least a small message from Tetsuya Takahashi and descriptions of how certain things played into the story, so there is a lot here. Additionally, there was a set of 16 survey questions that were taken into consideration for the developer roundtable. The survey has closed by now because I take forever to make videos, but I'm going to read through the questions as is. Question 1. A word about the setting and story. Question 2. A word about Noah and Mio. 3. Uni and Taion. 4. Lanz and Senna. 5. Name an impressive hero. 6. Tell us about some impressive enemies/monsters. 7. Please tell us about other memorable characters. I assume a lot of people talking about wanting Mwamba to be a hero are going to go here. 8. please tell us about an impressive system. This is referring to different gameplay systems and mechanics. 9, please tell us about an impressive event movie, cutscene. 10, please decide on Mio's hairstyle. This is simply a choice between long and short. Only the multiple choice questions are required, so you could just answer the Mio hairstyle question and a couple other ones and get through the entire thing. Again, Japanese book, this entire survey was in Japanese. I know a few people submitted answers to it by machine translating it or just personally translating it into Japanese, and a few others who submitted in English, just kind of assuming that they would have some translator in order to figure that out. And I guess it's also nice to get responses from an international audience, even if you're not going to take them into consideration for this kind of Japan-only thing, because it shows that there is a big reach for the series. Anyway, question 11. Did Xenoblade 3 have any influence on you? Question 12. What is the most memorable line in Xenoblade 3? I'm 90% sure the sample answer for this talked about Zed's "It amuses me" line there, which is hilarious. Question 13. Have you finished Future Redeemed? It's just a binary choice between beaten and not beaten. Not beaten, specifically including not having played it. Question 14. Please let us know your thoughts on Future Redeemed. Question 15. If there are any mysteries or events you would like explained about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed, please write them down. The sample answer had to do with explaining the Black Fog, so I think they already know that that was not well explained, and that's probably going to be in the developer roundtable or somewhere else in the book. And then question 16, in addition, please send a message to the developer Monolith Soft, which is hopefully going to be a lot of love being sent their way because, oh my god, how do they keep making games that are this good so consistently? Oh, sorry, it gets better. The sample response for question 1, a word about the setting or story. Example, I was surprised by the final ending scene, felt it a grand thought experiment, etc. And I'm pretty sure the sample response for the Noah and Mio one was like, I want to see them meet in the new world as well, or something like that. It's hilarious. They're aware. They might not be paying attention to the English-speaking fandom, but it seems like the general thought on the game as a whole is fairly consistent around the world, so I think they're aware both of the good and the bad they did with this game. That's probably my biggest issue with Monolith. Not that they make imperfect things, because obviously the series is amazing as it is, but because they tend to overcorrect for criticism. A lot of the weakest parts of Xenoblade 3 are overcorrecting for sometimes baseless criticisms of Xenoblade 2. But if they're already aware of specifically story issues when it came to just 2 years later doing a developer roundtable discussing Xenoblade 3 in a post-mortem sense, I think the story of the next game is in very good hands. If you're wondering why I'm so incredibly excited about just them taking survey responses on things people might be confused about or want to know more about, it's because of another Xeno series book, and not one that I've talked about so far in this video. It is about the Xenosaga 3 Player's Guide, because that included just a small section of the developers explaining mysteries or things that were not completely explained in the main story of the series, which was obviously even more important for Xenosaga because of how effectively unfinished it was. In what is a couple dozen pages translated, I don't know how long it was in the original Japanese, they shed light on so many things and clarified so many others that were a bit ambiguous that it basically doubled my comprehension of the series just through reading it in what is a relatively poor translation that exists right now. So it doesn't matter if they don't dedicate 100 of the 400 whatever pages to any of this stuff. We only need maybe 25, and I think that they could basically fix all of the issues people have with Xenoblade 3's story. Maybe not make it perfect, I doubt that. Maybe not fully turn people around who actively dislike it, but they can get rid of a lot of the major sticking points people have just by talking about it a little bit more based on what people are confused about as is. So, while the art's going to be cool, potential more hints at the future is going to be cool, whatever Takahashi has to say is going to be awesome, I'm more excited for this random discussion than anything else. And to close things though, I'm going to say hype responsibly again. There's no Bandai Namco, there's no Xenosaga in the copyright notice for this book. Even if elements from Future Redeemed that suggest at Xenosaga content coming in the future of Xenoblade are touched on here, there's probably not going to be any copyrighted Xenosaga content in the book itself. So we're probably not going to see actual Dmitry Yuriev there. The radio is probably only going to be shown from behind and all of that stuff. We're not going to get Xenosaga, but we might get a few more hints at things. And at the very least, we're probably going to get concept art of things that visually resemble things from Xenogears and Xenosaga that they decided not to implement in Xenoblade 3, either because they're saving it for something later, it didn't fit tonally, or they couldn't technically pull it off. But if they couldn't technically pull it off, then they could only not technically pull it off on the Switch 1. Next year, 2025, we're likely to see the first Xeno thing for the Switch 2. And then, we can really see what Monolith has been cooking. Until my next video, which will be way sooner than then, don't worry, you're not getting only one vid in 2024. This is Luxon, signing off. See you in the Husk video soon.